Hello and welcome to the Team WoW News vodcast. I'm Jordan Scott, your host. Alongside me is my co-host, Jonathan Bryan. We're here to talk all things Team WoW on this, the 6th of April, 2012. How's it going, John?
It's going really well, and how are you?
I'm well because it's my birthday soon. 9 days till I turn 21.
Good on you.
Good on me.
Happy
indeed.
birthday.
Thank you.
Like the hat. Very good touch.
But this show is bigger than just birthdays, John.
Bigger than that. Bigger than a lot of things.
It's huge. It's the Team
Massive.
WoW News vodcast. And we will talk first up about perhaps the biggest piece of news in the media this week, and that is Team WoW's shock loss. What did you make of the game against Dynamo, John? They lost 4-2 in the final.
Yeah, interesting about the media. A bit of a tabloid beat-up, I think, shock loss. It was a bit of an even... It was a bit of an even kind of match going in, wasn't it, really?
It was.
Didn't really have one favourite. It was kind of like Team WoW.
And they drew in their first fixture, 5-all.
That's correct. So,
nothing to choose between the teams, really, before the kickoff.
Yeah.
Plenty to choose afterwards.
Well, it was. And that's nicely put there. It was 3-0, of course, at half-time when Dynamo, after Team WoW held them off for about 8 minutes, they scored one. They broke through, and that was due to... one of their players, I don't think he was there for the first fixture of the match, but he came out and he had a really good shot.
He certainly wasn't there, but neither were Phil Gale and Robbie Sharp.
And Jonathan Bryan.
For Team WoW. They were an understrength team. Both teams were understrength in the first one.
It's true.
This guy's got skills, John. He scored 3 of the goals, the first 3 goals on the night.
Yeah, the first 3 goals in the first half there.
Rattled them home and gave Team WoW no chance. I mean, their defence was good, but you're always going to make chances in futsal. And when you finish like that guy did, he had 4 or 5 shots, put away 3 of them.
Yes.
There's not a lot you can do about that.
That kind of conversion rate you don't see very often. He was, I think, the man of the match, clearly the difference between the two teams, because it finished 4-2. Now, Team WoW, of course, in the second half, they rallied, didn't they?
They did rally.
And it was an early goal to Dynamo, but then they rallied.
That's right. And look, I don't think they necessarily had any great aspirations. I don't think they probably thought they could come back. But they were. It was 4-2 with 2 minutes to go.
Yep.
Phil Gale with a glorious chip, and Jordan Scott with a little tap in. And you never know. But on the night, they couldn't break through and get those extra couple of goals.
It was unfortunate, and of course, it's widely down to, I think, the inability to score, the lack of space that Dynamo
the pressure.
Yeah, the implied pressure as well, because it's the the final, should I say, grand final.
The nerves on the night. I mean, we saw a lot of players choking. Sol Foster and Jordan Scott, especially.
Bryan also.
Bryan was not bad, but I mean, everyone's going to respond to the stress in some way, which leads me to a question, John. What do you think about the show court rule? I mean, we play every game.
Every game, that's right. That's correct.
Every game is played on a regular court at the Aurora Stadium, two courts to a stadium. And then in the final, it's all turned around. You got a different court. You got the stands. You got the massive crowds. I mean, it may make a bigger deal of the whole thing, but can it put the players off, do you think, John? And did it put Team WoW off?
That's a very good question. I think it may have done, because certainly it's a different atmosphere. It's a different feeling. That court even has different dimensions.
It does.
So, I mean, it's hard to kind of, once you're used to one thing, it's hard to adapt. I mean, obviously both teams have to deal with it, but maybe Dynamo dealt better. I mean, they had a couple of training sessions on there midweek.
They have
to get ready for the game, and Team WoW, of course, didn't factor that in.
No.
On the back of their great semi-final victory. Maybe they should have done a bit more preparation.
They certainly did seem to feel differently. I mean, they've grown used to the courts they've been playing on, and they've used the space very, very efficiently. But in this game, had a lot of difficulty with it.
Certainly an interesting factor there.
And we'll see what happens next season. But I don't think the FFT have any huge plans to change that in the near future. So it's something we're going to have to deal with.
Certainly is. And I think it's a good thing for the game as well. It brings more opportunities.
There is that
for people to come, because obviously it's packed quite regularly.
A bit like Wembley. Is it going to Wembley for the final?
Yeah, it is a bit like that.
Yeah,
because it's a bigger capacity.
Yeah.
Than Team WoW's normal matches, obviously. And
they were huge crowds there on the night.
They packed the stadium, didn't they?
They did. They did.
Standing room only, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So, really, that's that's a good thing for futsal all around Tasmania. But
look, it's got its pros and cons, and that's something that's going to need to be considered in the next couple of years as the game gets a bit more serious.
Now, it was a really good match, though, and I think the man of the match was clearly Phil Gale. Now,
I think Phil Gale took the man of the match, John.
I think clearly. Now, he, of course, switching with Brian there. Brian back into defence just in the second half early.
And that was about, 4 or 5 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, well...
After they conceded that goal.
After they conceded the goal, and then Gale lifting his team, Sharp, a bit of desperation as well, and Thompson obviously trying really hard there as well. They were doing some really good things, but Gale's really kind of come forward after playing a rock-solid game in defence.
Certainly.
He scored that amazing one goal.
Yeah.
And then he set up another goal. So really, Gale, for me, most valuable player of that match. Now, I wonder who was the most valuable player of the season. What did you think?
Most valuable player of the season, John. That's a very interesting question. I mean, in futsal, everyone has their roles. Everyone plays a different game, and everyone's played a pretty good game for Team WoW.
Yeah.
Look, for me, making the shortlist, Phil Gale, as you say. I mean, he's been solid. He's intense. Plays well in the defence. Can push forward and score goals in the attack. Andy Thompson, the captain. But for me, I think Alex Kidd, the newest recruit, might have just snicked it. Maybe I'm thinking about how much he's improved, how much he's progressed in the game. But look, after the first couple of games, he really got into his stride, and he played just a rock. I mean, I can't think of many mistakes that he made back in the defence. He played a rock-solid season back there.
Yeah, it was a great improvement from Kidd, and he's really worked his way into the side and become an integral part of the Team WoW squad. I think Gale for me, or Thompson, one of those two.
Gale or Thompson. Yeah,
Thompson certainly, he really drives from the back. Well, actually, he's played more of a forward role this season, but he gets all around the court very well.
He does.
His work ethic is great.
Exactly.
His output is
even when he's, even when he's not scoring, still just his presence on the court can lift Team WoW spirits. We saw that in the game against Backhanded Panthers.
Yeah.
The only game that he didn't play fully, I guess. He came in the last 8 minutes, and that just really gave the team the boost that they needed to hold off their opponents in that one.
Got over the line. It was close, and definitely, as you say, he's a very important member of the squad. Key, in fact. Gale too. But of course, Thompson, he's scored the most goals of the season.
He has. 14, I believe it was, John.
And Scott with 12, wasn't it?
13. Yeah. Still that goal pending against Van Diemen's. It's going to the appeals.
It is.
I'm pretty sure, John, I have intel. I have heard that it's pretty much, there's no case. It looked like a pretty clear goal. It might have taken a snick off the defender. I will admit that, but end of the day, went in.
Well, clear own goal for mine, but let's not dwell on that. It was clearly an own goal, but let's not dwell on it. But it was clearly, if you guys saw the replay, I think you'll all agree. In fact, we could put up a poll later. It was clearly
maybe we should put up a poll, put it to the public.
Certainly.
And we'll see what response we get from that.
Yeah, but going on to the next segment, guys, let's do that.
Let's do it.
Which is
Phil Gale, Joe.
Now, I actually talked with him.
You did?
Me and Phil?
Yeah.
I said, Phil, what do you say? Me and you, we have a bit of an interview.
Yeah.
He said, what are you kind of thinking? I said, no, nothing too big. We'll go for a few nights camping.
Yeah.
Up on a trail somewhere.
Sure. Just you,
Just
Phil
me,
Gale.
Phil, tent,
Couple
two
of
sleeping bags.
Food?
No food.
No food.
He hunted, and I just
gathered.
Yeah. Because I don't actually eat meat.
Fantastic. And
we did a bit of fishing as well.
You did a bit of fishing? That's a very intense interview, John. I've not heard of anything really like it. You must have gained a lot of insights over that time.
A lot of insights.
Give us your top two.
It's hard to really quantify, into a definitive list of ranking there. I would say.
All right.
So it's hard for me to
give us a couple then.
All right. Well, I'll give you a couple about Phil Gale.
Yeah.
The man.
Any couple. Whatever you remember.
Well, obviously, I talked a lot to him. Obviously, about his attitude on court.
Yes.
Yes, and I said to him, "Look, Phil, you have a great attitude on court."
What sort of attitude?
He's just got a great attitude towards the game. He goes in hard, but he plays fair. He's supportive of his teammates, and he has a bit of fun out there as well. But really,
it's important.
Yes,
important in futsal not to take it too seriously.
And he plays for the team.
Yeah,
plays for Team WoW. He's a Team WoW man. He doesn't go around
He
playing.
doesn't go around playing for backhanded passes against him.
What I'm saying is, of course, that he doesn't play for himself. He plays for the team.
Certainly. There are others that we do know have actually made express statements that they play for themselves.
Jordan Scott.
Andy Thompson. But let's not get caught up on that.
Or Jordan Scott, he said.
So Phil Gale, yeah, he does certainly have a great demeanour, John. He plays the game well. He plays like a professional.
Yeah.
Great in the defence. Great in the attack. What were his thoughts on losing that final, John? What did that mean to him?
Yeah, he was slightly disappointed about it. He said he'd think about it for a while. He'd go surfing on his own. Just him and the ball.
I actually went surfing with him.
Did you really?
Yeah, the other day, just me and him
There
conducted
you
an
go.
interview on the waves. It was something else.
Difficult.
Yeah, I didn't learn much.
Hard to remember what actually.
But it was a great
said.
experience.
Like if you were trying to video or get the audio from that.
Yeah.
I think the waves.
It would be difficult. It would be difficult. But yeah, Phil Gale, so it did mean something. I think that's the right
Certainly.
balance.
I
You want it
mean,
to mean
yes.
something to a player, but
No.
you don't want them to be
You
devastated.
don't want to dwell on it either. I mean, he's looking forward to next season as well. He said, "Look, I've got all of it," and he was talking a bit about his career path. He's just started off with medicine, I believe.
He has,
And,
yeah.
so that's going to be.
We had a few
interesting
medicines
for
in the stands in the final, John. Lucas Parrier also along,
him.
which was a great support.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Alice Minchin was there.
Alice Minchin as well,
So that's,
yeah.
that's
Andy
great to
Thompson,
see.
Phil Gale. So 4 doctors that we
Up
know
and
of.
coming doctors.
Yeah, keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on them. Now, John,
Yes.
on to our next segment,
Woohoo!
and that is transfer rumours.
Right. Is
Of
it?
course.
So what are
We've
they?
come to the end of the season.
That's
this
right.
is the time, as you know from all of our other podcasts, as you know, this is the time when we talk who might come into the team, who might go out. Last time, I think I tipped Will Darling.
I remember that.
Leaving the club, and he certainly did.
Yeah, he's still actually signed to the club though. It's interesting. He's still under contract, and we haven't seen him
It's
play
a bit of
all
a
this
Tevez
season.
affair, isn't it?
It is. It's a self-proclaimed outage.
Yeah.
I don't know, of the game anyway.
If it is a Tevez affair, maybe there's hope for him to come back.
You never know. And he's
John,
got-
who are you tipping? Do you think there'll be much movement in the team
Oh,
next season?
look,
Freshen up the squad.
Yeah, certainly it's a possibility. And obviously, when the transfer window opens in a couple of weeks, on the 19th of April,
Yeah.
when the transfer
My
window
mother's
opens.
birthday.
Wow. So that's serendipitous.
It is serendipitous.
Hopefully, she won't get a anti-birthday present.
Exactly, because she cares a lot about Team WoW.
Yeah, in that case.
So, John, any
something.
names that are
Yeah,
floating
right.
around? I mean, obviously, Tevez himself has been mentioned. An audacious bid could be launched.
Could be launched.
But locally, any names that you've seen around that might even come into the squad?
Let's just address that Tevez issue though, because it's certainly an interesting one. Now, I don't know if they're going to make a bid. It's very difficult. If you're from, where's he from? Argentina.
He's from Argentina.
If he's from Argentina, he's missing his family. He probably does not want to move to Tasmania to continue a futsal career.
Probably not, John.
However, I think the mostly would be good otherwise. I mean, the quality, the standard,
Probably
the
unlikely.
players around him would kind of help him out and get adjusted, and he'd be of similar standard.
I've caught up with Tevez on many occasions. But
Rang me just
look,
the other day as well.
thinking more.
No, certainly
Thinking
like-
locally.
So Brian,
Ian Kuloff, obviously.
Yes.
George Cass. They are always names sort of floating around the squad. Alec Korolak-Stevenson.
Oh, yes.
He played a couple of games this season, but then
Alec.
dropped out of the squad.
Again.
Sterling Raymond, Tim Parrott.
yeah,
These are all names that have played for. Look, to be honest, Team WoW are such a cohesive unit at the moment. I don't expect them to come and grab someone fresh.
No.
I expect either a Will Darling,
yes.
perhaps a Tim Parrott, perhaps a Sterling Raymond to come into the squad. What do you think about
Well, I've heard a rumor. I had a rumor over the weekend. I had a bit of a rumor.
Yeah.
A bit of a rumor. I had a rumor, and I'm going to share it with you exclusively. Pat Foley.
Pat Foley? The name that I didn't mention for some reason.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Could be in. Now, Pat Foley, of course, he could be in. He could sign a short-term contract with the club, back to the club. Loyal. He's taken a break, obviously, from futsal for various reasons over the past couple of years. He could be back in.
He's one of those players that's made a return before. He came back for about 3 games at the end of the season. A couple of years ago, played against Matildas, put in a great performance, and obviously he's still got it. And he's still got the passion for the game.
I would say he's even a class above most of the Team WoW players.
You reckon?
Only because that man Pat Foley has got talent. He's born with it.
And he's got a lot of futsal experience.
And he's got so much futsal experience. He's played internationally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So you know that I had a bit of a rumor, but I don't know if it's going to be true. I'm doubtful. My sources are a bit unreliable there, and I've had to really dig around for that one. But it's possible. But yeah, that's one possibility. Cass, cool off, not sure. Yeah, as you say, cohesive unit. We've got a lot of players in the squad team. Wow, Brian and Scott up there up front.
I mean, that's going to be a hard place to break
Difficult.
into. I mean, for someone like Sterling Raymond or Tim Parrott,
impossible.
They're strikers generally.
Parrott more of a creative player.
To work that, and that's Brian's role now.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
to work their way back into the squad is difficult.
Yes,
but I hear on the proverbial grapevine, they are in talks. So we'll see. Maybe it will just be for a couple of games. A bit of an honour thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it's possible. They've played the club before, as you say. Again,
it would be great to see them return because they bring a lot to futsal. But, I mean, as we've been saying, Team WoW are a cohesive unit. And I don't think they necessarily need new players. I think they can freshen themselves up without, additions to the squad.
Now, the one other thing on transfer. And of course, Alec Korolak, we should address that. I don't think he's going to make it, let's be honest.
No. He's signed contracts at the start of the last 5 years.
Yeah, and
he hasn't actually.
He hasn't honoured them at all, and I think the club really realises now that it's a bad place.
So just figured it out.
Well, the thing is, because he did play a couple of matches quite some time ago, and
at the start of this season,
and as well at the start of this season, as well as past seasons.
Yeah,
and he, he's
got the talent. He's got the talent, and that's why they kept trying to get him back.
Yeah.
But I think they're probably fed up with him. Now, what was your other thing, John?
Yeah,
on
the
transfers?
other one. Now, I was just considering about Team WoW, their keeper situation. Now, Michael Risk, of course, great keeper.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, he's come into his own
that man,
this last season. I think he's played his best season in futsal since he started. Even better than when he was back at Spoof and playing in the lower leagues.
The lower leagues, yes. But we picked him up because Team WoW scouting staff, and we brought him into it. It was undisclosed, actually, but it was quite a lot.
He's been a great keeper. Now, what do you say? What?
My point there is, of course. Now he's been a great keeper, and I think he'll continue to be. He's loyal to the club, but the backup keeper is what I'm thinking.
Certainly.
Now, Cooloff has been mentioned.
Cooloff's name is in the pot.
So
Tom Botterill James as well, John.
BJ.
He's played one game for Team WoW.
Yes.
Signed on a short-term loan.
Yeah, that's right.
And played an absolute blinder in one of perhaps, arguably, Team WoW's greatest game against Clare Street Elite.
That game
they won 6-5 in extra time.
That game they won 6-5 in extra time.
Owing a lot to Tom BJ.
Certainly. So, I mean, that might be something they have to address. Risk gets injured for any reason, what are they going to do? So they have to have a backup plan, and maybe they'll sign a backup keeper.
You're dead right. And I've heard, I mean, we've talked a lot about transfers in. I've heard about there are other squads also trying to sniff out, especially Michael Risk. Backhanded Panthers were interested.
Yeah,
they were. A bit too smug, I hear. There have been suggestions of that from a number of squads, but like you say, he's loyal. I think most of the team are very loyal.
Yeah.
And I think they're probably... Look, I think we'll see roughly the same squad.
I'd say
come next
it's
season.
Going to be fairly similar,
I think so.
Risk is loyal to Team WoW. Let's just put that out there.
First and foremost.
So, yeah, as you say, it's going to be pretty much the same. Oh.
Moving on, John.
Moving on now.
It's our cue.
This is, yes, it was.
The producer's given us our cue.
Those producers, they're zany. They just put random tacky things up there. We love our
producers.
On
to our what's our next?
All six of them.
What's our next?
All six
segment here,
well, the next segment is also involving six. It's six statements in 6 seconds with Jordan Scott.
Wow, I'm excited about this one, John.
Yeah, 6 stats in 6 seconds was pretty good last week from Jonathan Bryan, but
fantastic. I'll see if I can beat you, John.
6 statements in 6 seconds. I'll get my timer out.
I wouldn't worry about the timer. I reckon we could probably figure it out.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Okay.
Ready? Are you ready?
I am ready.
6 statements you don't make up here. Oh, have.
Yeah.
But you've got to be in your mind.
Yeah,
you can't just be reading them.
Yeah.
He's not cheating,
yeah,
guys.
I'm ready. You can see. I'll be looking at the camera. Go ahead.
Go.
Hopeless keeper. Terrible ref. Shocking result. Great final. Hopeless semi-final. And fantastic defense.
And that's 6 seconds.
Fantastic.
So you did it.
Yeah.
So what were they?
I've done it, John.
You said hopeless twice.
I did say hopeless twice,
It's a
John.
bit of a cop out, isn't it?
It was. It was. So, it was a bit of a cop-out. It wasn't my best performance.
No.
But those are the statements I think that have really shaped this season.
Right. Okay.
Most of them from Andy Thompson.
Weird.
Because that's pretty much... I mean, the writer of TeamWowBlogspot.com, that's pretty much all they interview.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that.
But other comments as well, and you know.
But just kind of, I want you to just kind of elaborate on one of those comments.
Okay, what was the comment?
Just one of them.
Okay. Hopeless ref, John.
Yes.
That was the comment Andy Thompson made.
Right, okay.
At the close of one of the games. I believe it was a game against Vipers.
Okay.
Vipers were a young team.
Were.
You'll remember Team WoW beat them 3-1. This was before Jonathan Bryan had returned, I think. Now, the ref, a little bit shoddy at times, maybe. Andy Thompson and his senior, the other Thompson, Peter Thompson.
His father.
Were both complaining at the end of that game.
Yeah.
And that actually caused a bit of an overhaul in the refereeing system. And from that time on, you know, better refs were brought to the Team WoW games because certain players were being targeted.
You can't have
Andy
that.
Thompson being one of them, being targeted.
Jordan Scott being targeted.
Jordan Scott had 2 or 3 men marking him.
Jonathan Bryan was targeted, you know,
from afar.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
You're lucky to get away with that.
That really made the season. Team WoW, after that point, got some really good refs. And that meant, I mean, they played flowing football. And they were able to, you know, play their game defensively without, you know... You don't want a ref blowing the whistle too much.
No.
You don't want them letting too much go. And, I mean, that's what they got. They got pretty much flawless refereeing after that. So that was huge for their season.
Well, thank you for that insight into that little statement.
No worries,
from
John.
A. Thompson.
No worries.
And look at that. We are out of time.
Are we, John? Because I think we're going to the callers, aren't we?
I know, but we're out of time.
Are we really?
We're out of time. Bam, we're out of time.
Bam, we're out of time. But I do have... I'm getting one text through.
Oh, I'm getting one too. I think they must have texted both of us.
One text from El Salvador.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Mr. Da Silva Rodriguez.
Mr. Da Silva Rodriguez.
And he says,
Hernandez.
Just a huge shout out to the boys.
Right.
Great performance in the final.
Yeah. From El Salvador. He's not speaking in Spanish or anything.
Even though you lost, well, I'm trying to translate it.
Very good.
It's difficult.
You do well. You do well.
So even though you lost,
even though you have
lost, and
even though you lost,
he is tipping.
Yeah.
He's saying Jonathan Bryan for Player of the Season, and he's saying, look, perhaps, because he played fewer games, he could get. You know, it might be a bit unfair on the polls, but he's putting his vote for Jonathan Bryan. What do you think about that?
Interesting. I guess he was kind of trying to say that Bryan's had an impact and got them to the final. Obviously, last season, term 3,
huge impact player, Jonathan.
2011, he is, and 2011, as I say, they didn't make the finals, but this season they've made the finals, and that's really good for the club. So obviously, our friend Rodriguez Hernandez da Silva was quite happy with, quite happy with that, and. Good to see that showing appreciation.
Fantastic. That's about all we have time for today. Again, the lines are pretty much full.
Damn it.
Covering every continent. But it's great to come into your homes and talk Team WoW with you. And we'll be back next week. Keep tuning in. There'll be tons of these coming out. Maybe daily.
Minimum
possibly
one a week,
weekly.
Though. Minimum one a
maybe
week.
Monthly.
Minimum one a week, though.
Could be quarterly. You'll definitely see us again before next season.
Whether it be on this blog or face to face. Probably face to face.
Okay.
When you come into the office.
So that's it for us, John.
And you give us a bit of your time. We'll give you a bit of time. We're always open. Doors always open.
I've got an open door policy. That is me, Jordan Scott, signing off.
Jonathan Bryan's out of here.
Let's do it.
Woo!